Good morning and happy Veterans Day, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining. There's not really anything like major happening this morning in pre-market. We can see the SPYs recovering back up a little bit. Some of these Chinese stocks like Alibaba and JD are starting to pop off to the upside, which is good. So definitely keep those on your radar. But besides that, as of right now, there's no like major news. We could see opens popping up. And Tom, I know like a firm had a pretty awesome earnings report. That one's actually exploding.
Yeah, they have actually had a lot of hype lately as well. I know that a firm has been really moving to the upside a lot lately. They did tank off into earnings, but they actually had a pretty big recovery here. They're going to open up today right around 165, which is almost back up towards these highs again. So that recovery is pretty strong out of a firm, and I'm glad to see it. They're partnering with some pretty key players like Amazon. I know they had a Walmart deal a while ago, and even deals with somebody else. They've been having a lot of they've been on offense almost like DraftKings has. And as we can see, the market just opened and you can see the candle up there at 165.
Yeah, so they also expanded their partnership with Amazon, which obviously that's huge news. So all in all, they're definitely a good play. Honestly, I feel like with the current price movement, your best bet is probably just like a long-term play on it. Like if you wanted to, like you probably could do a couple like short-term plays, but it looks pretty damn volatile.
Yeah, it does. And it almost reminds me of like an upstart or something like that. Like it's going to definitely have its swings to the upside and the downside. So definitely be careful with it. But I feel like it's definitely a good one to throw on the radar. Like there's been a lot of hype with them lately. And, anytime you're making deals with Amazon, I mean, man, that's really good news. Obviously Amazon's a huge player in the market. And, we've seen lots of companies make deals with them and it generally goes pretty well for them.
Exactly. So another thing is like while a lot of stocks just got destroyed yesterday, I would say most stocks are popping up today. I would say probably a little over 90% of my watch list is green, which is great to see. We have stocks like Tom has Boeing, Neo, Baba, a lot of other ones too, which are green. Even Neo's doing pretty good, so that's awesome.
Yeah, they really are. They're recovering up after that shaky earnings report. You can see it kind of created like a heartbeat monitor here. It flew down, it flew up, and then it flew back down. And hopefully we can go back up now with Neo. I know it's been a very volatile past couple of days. Nvidia, which has been tanking off, is having a pretty good morning so far. They're up 2.8%. Most of it came with that pre-market movement, though. I know Lucid Motors looks like it's back on the run today. Well, it looks like at open it's going back down, but it is opening up around plus 3.5%. A lot of these stocks it seemed like they were running mostly in pre-market, and right now at open, they're kind of pulling back a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, I want to talk about Disney a little bit because, I've been holding long-term calls on this one and it got smacked yesterday. Their earnings weren't even that good. Like with Palantir the other day, Palantir tanked off and their earnings were actually pretty good. But Disney, that wasn't the case. Their earnings were definitely a little shaky. So, Disney, it kind of sucks to see. I know a lot of smart money is holding calls in this one, like in the money calls with time. So you'd think that the market would pop up, but it goes to show you that even the smart money is not, they can't time everything perfectly. So I'm definitely going to continue to monitor that position. But all in all, like even when you look on like a daily chart of Disney, Tom, you can see like sometimes it has these horrible like selling pressure days, and then like the next couple days it just totally reverses. And like a couple examples I have is like check out January 26th, January 27th of 2021. We can see that it had that horrible red candle right where your cursor is, and then it just like popped back up. So it just goes to show you that definitely it sucks to see this selling pressure, but there are multiple examples of big reversals like that throughout its history. So I'm not really too worried about it, but again, it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, it really does suck. And there is a big support right there, actually, right where that candlestick bounced, back on January 27th. There's a big support at $160. If we end up bouncing off of that and moving back up, it could be a pretty good entry, if you want to get into a quick, maybe even a quick scalp. If you see it touch right there, it could be a very good entry, actually. So good eye pointing that one out. I feel like that's a pretty good support right there. If we do break that, it will worry me more in the shorter term, though. Of course, Disney's just had some problems lately, which it sucks with the earnings going against them. I was really hoping for a nice bounce there on this 168 support and maybe we would go back up. But, unfortunately we are down this morning. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. If we break this 160 support, I'll have to eye it up a little bit lower. But, if we end up bouncing here, I think that's an amazing support. And like you said, the last time we touched it, we flew right back up. So definitely eye it up for a scalp at least. I feel like at the minimum, we might touch it and then at least get a quick intraday bounce back up.
Yep, hopefully. All right, so I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quickly. So welcome Kiwi, J-Trade, Sean, I'm Fierce, Jesse, Hunter, Mac, Carlos, Alex, Ant, Matt, George, Rick, and yeah, I think we're good. So thank you guys so much for joining today. You guys know the drill. Let us know what stocks you're watching. We'll probably take a look at them. So yeah, it looks like China stocks are looking pretty dang good, Tom. I just saw you looking at Queb, and it's looking pretty good. Queb and Baba, they're uptrending, and they've definitely taken a hit over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, Queb is actually doing very well this morning, really starting to extend up there. Baba is starting to get pretty volatile, moving back and forth a little bit more. I really hope that they can keep going up, though. It seems like every morning for the past 2 days, Baba just keeps gapping up and then running. So hopefully we see that come back. On the max daily chart, Baba's starting to really turn back around, and they're starting to really recover back. So hopefully we can see them recover up heading into earnings. Earnings are coming up on November 18th. So we're going to have to be a little careful with those, but I really like the recovery here. And if we start to see like more green momentum come in and we're able to break out above 170, I feel like that would be an awesome resistance to move above.
Sounds good. All right, and then with the first comment, we have I'm Fierce saying, good morning, everyone. What are your thoughts on I? So EYE and the share buyback and earnings. They're getting close to hitting the $180 level on the daily chart and was on a nice uptrend. So there we go. So he said the 180, close to hitting the 180 on the daily chart. Okay. For this one, honestly, I haven't been following it too much, so I'm not too familiar with like the share buyback program and things like that on this specific stock. It is getting pretty close to a huge support right at $54, and then there's some resistance at like 58 and then like 59. So it is closer to support, which is good, which should be good for a potential bounce back up. But again, like I said, I have not been following this stock too much, so I'm not too familiar with what happened with their earnings.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad sell-off too. Like I would be pretty careful with it, at least for the next couple of days. But, I could definitely see it recovering a little bit though, of course. It looks like they were on a pretty good uptrend before this huge reversal.
All right, good stuff. All right, and then we have Jesse saying, morning, you guys think big money plays any manipulations on the market, knowing today that banks are closed and many people have unsettled funds, or is it insignificant? I would say it's insignificant. I mean, if these top trading firms, they're constantly manipulating the markets. Like I don't think that today they're doing anything out of the ordinary. Generally speaking, like there's a lot of different things they do, but like especially when it comes for payment for order flow and like all the things like that. Generally, like the more volume and the more activity, the better for these big institutions. So, like I said, it just depends on what strategy we're referring to, and there's just a lot of variables. But generally speaking, I would say it's pretty insignificant. And then we have Matt saying, had spreads on Affirm and Disney. Between the two, I lost $25. Could have been way worse before I learned what spreads were. Well, that's good. It's good to play spreads on earnings rather than naked calls or puts.
Yeah, definitely. Those that implied volatility, like we can just go to Affirm. You can see how it really dropped off here at market open. And, the stock did move up, but it's starting to come back down a little bit. I know that we're up 15%, so I'm sure the calls are up, but man, that pricing is probably dropping pretty quickly right now with that IV. So definitely that's definitely smart to do heading into earnings. I think that's really smart. And actually learning spreads, we just came out with that new advanced options course. If anybody's interested, check out the chat. I'll throw the link in there. And we just came out with the program. It's actually really good. Mike developed it for a long time, and it goes over a bunch of good strategies. So definitely check it out in the chat.
You know it. And then yeah, I'm just trying to see what's moving right now. Again, there's like no like wow plays so far. I did see that Disney basically just got downgraded, or their price target was adjusted. We can say it wasn't technically a downgrade, but it was down. It was adjusted in a bad way, we'll say. And we have Kathy saying, I have Lucid, Palantir, and Airbnb on my list for day trades today. What are your thoughts on these? So I'll take a look at it. You said the first one was Lucid. Tom, I saw you looking at Lucid a little bit earlier today. It's up like a little over 4%. What are you thinking with this one?
Yeah, it had that huge move to the upside at market open. Now it's kind of pulling back pretty drastically. I mean, it's going to be really tough to play right now. I really liked it with that breakout. I was really hoping that we would kind of get a nice continuation to the upside, but it looks like some volatility is coming in. I would say just I'm more of neutral on it today. Looking at it on the max daily chart, I feel like it has more of a chance to go up, but earnings are coming up pretty soon on the 15th. It's going to be pretty tough. It looks like it's in a bullish setup to me, and I like it to the upside. It kind of reminds me of how it pulled back just a couple weeks ago on like October 29th and October 30th. So I really like how it pulled back there, and I feel like that might be what's going on here. So for the next couple trading days, if we start to see it recover back up towards, this high of like 47, I feel like that'll be a pretty good chance to see it then maybe head up towards 50 and then maybe break it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with earnings, it's always kind of like a 50-50. Even if they report good earnings, they could fall, and if they report bad earnings, they could rise. And then on top of that, whether it rises or it falls, if you buy the options when they're not priced well, you can lose no matter what happens. So, earnings.
Yeah, and we actually have a lot of time heading into the earnings. So like I feel like it could have a possible like pre-earnings like fall or run up maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad for that. Just in terms of like holding through the report, you'd want to be really careful with that. And then the next one she had was Palantir. I like this one for the long term. For a day trade, it could be decent. I really hope it pops up, but over the past couple weeks, it's definitely been looking tough.
Yeah, this stock has been terrible lately. I mean, man, I mean, it has good, I mean, the earnings were decent. I know that everyone says the earnings were really good. They were decent. I mean, they honestly slowed down on their growth quite a bit, which is probably why they ended up falling. But it was just, I don't know, it's a decent company. They have some good contracts with the government. I feel like it should end up going up in the longer term, but man, they're just getting killed and they just keep breaking these supports. Hopefully this support down here around, $20 to $21 ends up holding up because man, that's a pretty big one there. So if we end up breaking that to the downside, I'll be pretty worried, but I am pretty happy with the way it's holding up above that though, at least, like we've seen lots of stocks like CHGG and, plenty of other examples where stocks had huge gaps to the downside.
There we go. All right, and then with the last one, she had Airbnb, ABNB. Let's take a look at this one. It looks, I would say, one of the best setups she had. Earnings already happened, and it's actually on an uptrend, which is good. I know it got smacked like 2 days ago, and there is a pretty big resistance at 200, but it's not going down without a fight. It has some good volume still. It has that like hype factor too. So yeah, this one's not bad.
Yeah, it's really not too bad. I like it how it really popped up with earnings. I think that's an awesome thing how the earnings went well for them. Airbnb has been a pretty crazy sector. People have been talking about it possibly recovering with COVID starting to, get better a little bit. So I feel like it's good to see them recovering up and, hopefully we can see some airlines and stuff like that start to recover up. They talk about the airlines and Airbnb being in kind of similar sectors, being in the travel industry. So hopefully we can start to see some of these other airlines and stuff start to move up kind of like Airbnb, and hopefully just that type of travel industry just gets a big boost.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so then we have Matt asking about Riot. So RIOT, yeah, these, I guess you say just these crypto ETFs, or I guess it's not even an ETF, but I guess anything to do with crypto has been so volatile. It's up like 5% on the day, but we know that, these cryptos got destroyed yesterday for a little bit, so it's been all over the place. IV is, I guess you could say mid-range, so not bad. Yeah, not a bad play. Of course, it's going to follow, Bitcoin.
Yeah, and as we can see, it's coming up today, and it did kind of double top up there around $42. So I would say be a little careful of that. I know that Bitcoin's hovering right around 70,000 right now. So be careful. There might be a bit of a resistance here. So that's all I would have to say. Just be a little careful with the price of Bitcoin, because I will say like Riot and Mara have been flying up a lot lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of consolidated a little bit.
All right. How's good old Tesla doing?
Tesla, let's check it out. It looks like, well, it looked like they were having a good morning, and now it's pulling back at market open, which sucks. But we're still positive on the day. We're still up 0.3%, which is good to see. But there is some negative momentum coming into Tesla. I hope this isn't bringing NIO down, and it looks like it is bringing down some of these other EVs, which is not a good sign. The SPY is actually pulling back pretty hard here at market open as well, which is probably not helping Tesla at all. But man, it's just it's definitely been a rough past few days. I actually saw the report, Mike, that came out last night that Elon Musk sold up to $5 billion of Tesla stock. Like, man, that's an insane amount, actually. And, we always talk about like whenever these people sell smaller amounts, like 50 million, even 100 million, it doesn't make too big of a difference. But man, that's a pretty large amount there, being $5 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, but his net worth is also like ridiculous too. So
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but like as a percentage, I don't think it's like, you know what I mean, like compared to his like overall net worth.
And he's doing it really just to pay taxes, like because he's keep in mind, like he has all those options expiring next year, and
Yeah.
man, it's really just to pay his tax bill, honestly. So his tax bill is going to be 5 billion if that shows you how much he makes.
Gosh. Yep, no doubt, no doubt. All right, and then we have Hunter mentioning Beyond. Yeah, this one is a little, I guess you can say, quote unquote, wowing. It's down like, what is it, 17% today. I saw their earnings were pretty rough, and yeah, they're selling off pretty big. I was considering selling some puts on them, but I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Maybe if like it continues to fall, maybe to that, maybe like $70 level, something like that, and IV rises, I'll probably sell a far out of the money put, but it's not like, I don't know, it's just on my watch list.
Yeah, it's not a stock for me, but I feel like for the longer term, it could be good. Like if you buy it around support and it ends up getting some good momentum. I know that they're definitely in a strange sector, so hopefully they end up rising, but definitely a very strange move. I will say it did break that big technical right before these earnings came out at $100, which was a pretty bad sign heading into earnings. So at least it had some bad technicals heading into it.
All right, let's see. All right, we have George saying Vale, Vale. Let's take a look at this one. It is popping up pretty well today, but that daily chart's pretty bad. Yeah, it's been looking pretty rough on the daily. It's not looking too bad for like a dip buy, but honestly, shares would probably be the way to go if you did want to play this.
Yeah, I feel like it would definitely be smarter to get shares. I mean, options could be good for it. It's just if it ends up consolidating for a while, you'll end up getting screwed. And keep in mind, it is a very low price stock anyways. So, if you buy shares at $12 and it rises up to 16, that's going to be a pretty big increase percentage wise anyways.
Yep. All right. And then we have Michael saying, "What's up, guys? What about Ride for short and long term, short interest, etc.?" Well, personally, it's not for me. I mean, it's I just heard a lot of bad things about it. Their stock has been getting destroyed lately. It's like, in my opinion, it's a total gamble play. But if you like it, trust your gut and play it. The short float is nearly 28%, so relatively high, nothing crazy. I just heard a lot of bad things about them, and it's not for me.
Yeah, it's a very crazy stock. I haven't looked into it too much, but some of these EV companies, they might end up coming out with some good news or something in the future. It's definitely a crazy sector. Like a lot of people didn't like Lucid before this good news came out just a couple weeks ago. The stock was doing pretty bad actually for a while there. So it's a very strange sector. I would say, like Mike said, if you trust it and if you've done your research for the longer term, I feel like it can be good, but in the end, it's going to be a really risky play. I feel like Lucid is a little bit better, and I feel like there's just better opportunities right now anyways, kind of like Corsair and just different stocks like that.
Alrighty, good stuff. And then we have J Deep asking about Dash, DASH. Let's take a look at it. It is doing pretty good today. It's up nearly 6%, and it was kind of all over the place yesterday. So, Tom, it looks like maybe if we break that like 241 resistance, it might be a good breakout play.
Yeah, it actually might be there. That was a really big move actually with earnings. And then I can't believe it kind of settled down yesterday. I'm really glad to see it recovering like this. You're right. If it ends up breaking that, that could end up being a pretty big runner. And look at this on the max daily chart. Like, we finally broke out yesterday. I feel like it has a pretty good chance to keep going here too. Like we had a pretty good move. And man, it's a crazy stock. Those earnings have been crazy lately. This one went to the upside, and you're right. If we break 241, definitely throw it on the radar. Maybe even create an alert right there, guys, because if it breaks that, that could be a pretty good time to get in.
Here we go. All right, and then we have Carlos saying, since inflation is here to stay, don't ask Papa Powell. Which inflation or which index you think could do better in this environment? Dow, Nasdaq, or the Russell? I would lean more towards the Dow. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it depends. Like some of the tech stocks do good with inflation, and then some of them do bad. So I would just say like a Dow would probably be your best bet. Yeah, that's where I would put my money in a scenario like that. But also don't forget, like you could also buy like some gold and silver too. I know those were popping up pretty well. Like if you look at GLD, like Tom has pulled up, it's still at a good level. And I know it popped up a decent amount over the past week or so, but it's still at a good level. And gold and silver should increase with inflation, and then even if you wanted to, you could even like diversify a little bit into some of the cryptos like Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, something like that. And if you're looking to play that inflation play, it doesn't hurt to grab a couple different things.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Diversification is always very important. And looking at it going forward, I feel like GLD is a pretty good one here, Mike. It's actually breaking some good technicals too. And I feel like for the next couple of months, it could end up being pretty good. We're looking at the market right now, even the Dow, and it looks like we're starting to turn over a little bit to the downside. And, I'm not saying we're going to have a major crash or anything, but it looks like we're definitely about to pull back a little bit. Same thing with the SPY. I don't know. It's really tough to pick indices like this, especially whenever they start to fall. But I would say the Dow would be one of the better ones as well. Obviously, right now we have some huge tech stocks like Nvidia, Tesla. A lot of these stocks have been moving up a lot lately and are starting to come back down right now. And that's going to really hurt like the QQQ and probably the SPY pretty bad. So, yeah, I would have to agree with Mike. I would probably go with the Dow too. But either way, I feel like that gold, like you said, Mike, would be a lot better of an option than any of the indices with inflation because, the chances of the Dow still going down, I feel like are pretty high. But, in the end, gold and silver might end up actually rising.
All right. Good stuff. And then, Tom, I see that like Enphase is creeping up out of nowhere. These solar stocks are trying to come back a little bit, and Enphase is definitely leading the way.
It really is. Look at this on the 15-minute chart. You can see that it was consolidating for a long time, started to sell off, and this recovery is nice. And looks like we're trying to get back up towards this resistance looks like right around 243. So definitely watch out for that today. If we're able to break that, and then we're able to break out above that high up there at 246.50, that would be an amazing move. And I'll be honest, it looks like the stock is definitely back on the uptrend. So definitely eye it up. Hopefully it's like an upstart because it just started to break out to those all-time highs, and it definitely had some consolidation. And whenever we go look at upstart, you can see they started to break out to all-time highs, and then they actually had some consolidation with a couple of red days right there too, and then started to go on their big uptrend. So hopefully we start to see some of these stocks making new highs, start to move up on these nice uptrends.
There we go. Alrighty. We have Kathy asking about AMD. So one of the powerhouse chip stocks. I like it for the long term. I've been wanting to buy in for a while now, and honestly, I definitely missed the boat. Yeah, it's just been on such an amazing uptrend. If it falls, I definitely grab some shares, but there's no way I'm gonna buy shares at this level. Honestly, I totally missed it.
Yeah, and this one makes me sad. I had like 10 grand of this one at like $9 whenever I first started trading a long time ago. Man, I wish I would have held this one, but it's an amazing stock. I mean, it's really good. It is dipping right now. I will say I feel like it could go a little bit lower, but in the end, this stock has just been on fire. And I would say it's good. It's a good time to average in almost any time, like the last time they pulled back from like 121 back down to 100. They might pull back from 155 back down to maybe like 135 or even maybe 120. But I would really eye it up, at least for the longer term. It's always good to grab shares of it, I think. And even if it falls like for the next few months or something, I feel like for the next couple of years, it might start to just go back on that uptrend. And as we can see, it actually was pretty flat for about a year straight, just kind of trading between 72 and $100 before we finally got this huge breakout.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, so good stuff. I'll definitely have it on my watch list. If it does fall, like I said, I'll probably pick it up. And yeah, and then we have Head saying thoughts on Bitcoin and MSTR. So for the long term, I do like it. For the short term, it's very volatile. But if you're looking to like buy and hold Bitcoin, you're probably going to be better off not getting like a stock like MSTR or even a stock like Riot or Mara or even an ETF like BITO. Your best bet, one, is probably just to make a brokerage account with one of these crypto brokers, buy and hold it, and because you also get paid interest. So like for example, like if you were to invest into the BITO ETF to play Bitcoin, this is just a random example. It's not like you didn't have to get this, but if you were, one, it doesn't follow the spot price of Bitcoin, and two, this decays kind of like a VXX, kind of. This follows the Bitcoin futures, which have a negative roll yield, which basically means this ETF is going to get smacked relative to the price of Bitcoin, as long as the futures prices stay higher than the actual spot price of Bitcoin, which probably will happen. So long story short, you're better off just buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever you want by itself. That will give you direct exposure to the asset. And then two, like a lot of these brokers like BlockFi, they pay you interest. Like you can get paid a couple percent a year just for having your money in their account. So it's like I would definitely not even mess around with some of these like Bitcoin stocks right now and just invest into Bitcoin, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally just get Bitcoin as well. And, either way, honestly, like Bitcoin's been running up a lot lately. So, either way, like whenever you look at it, Bitcoin's a good to get in. And I feel like with it starting to break these highs, we might start to go on a pretty good uptrend here. Like we finally broke out the all-time highs. Hopefully we don't just, hit $70 as a resistance and start to fall again. That would be a pretty bad scenario. In the past, whenever Bitcoin starts to run, I mean, hopefully we all remember back when Bitcoin was running up from, $5 grand all the way up to 60 grand like that. It was a crazy uptrend whenever we saw that happen. And, I feel like that we could easily see it, break above 70K over the next couple of weeks and then start to get back on that nice uptrend. And, Bitcoin's going to be pretty good for the future. There's been talks of it even with like the metaverse and stuff like that. So, I feel like that there's a pretty good future for it. And, some people like it, some people don't, but I feel like it's just good to grab the physical side of it. Like Mike said, whenever you look at these things like Mara, Riot, even like the one you said, MSTR, they're just pretty risky. You can see they swing up and down quite a bit. Like MSTR has had some pretty crazy swings while Bitcoin is actually at all-time highs. So, that just goes to show you like MicroStrategy isn't at their all-time highs while Bitcoin is. So, that goes to show you it doesn't follow it exactly.
Yep. All right, Tom, we need some levels for QS for Vicky.
Yeah, QS looks like on the daily chart, this stock is actually on the uptrend pretty nicely. Let's look at it on the 90-day, 15-minute. It looks like there's definitely a big support down here right around $34, Vicky. I would definitely eye that up as a good support intraday today and even for the next couple of days. There's another support right around 34.50. So, there is a 50-cent like margin right there you could look at. Looks like there is some resistance here intraday, at least right around, you could say 36.50. There's definitely been some movement there in the middle of the day yesterday and then the day before that. And then I see some pretty big resistance up here right around $38 to $39. You can see there was definitely a lot of rejection right there. That would be the main level I'm looking at today. If we can start to break out above 36, I'll definitely be eyeing up 38 to 39 and maybe looking for either a breakout or maybe for it to at least touch here and then maybe consolidate and then maybe go up tomorrow.
Awesome. All right, good stuff. And then we have, what is this? We have Matt saying bought a 20 strike call for like $50 for on SNDL earnings tonight. Let's take a look. 20 strike call. SNDL. Oh, $20 call. I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, I hope it pops for you. That's pretty far out of the money. I'm surprised it even goes that far out.
Yeah, I was honestly thinking, like, is that even, I didn't even think that that was even a possibility, on the options chain. But man, I mean, I hope it flies up, if they, who knows, if they fly from 70 cents up to $10, man, you can make a killing.
I don't know. Maybe it's a $2 call because I'm not even
Yeah.
seeing. I'm not even
And he
seeing
bought
that.
it for 50 cents. So we could probably figure it out, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So I don't know. Either way, hopefully it pops for you. It looks like Enphase still leading the way. Baidu. How are these China stocks doing, Tom? I know we were watching them a lot before the market even opened. How are they looking today?
Yeah, I mean, let's go check it out. Baba. Honestly, Baba's just been kind of lingering around. If we look at it on the 1 minute, it's just been kind of up and down today, but it has been holding its ground, which is awesome to see after that nice gap up. Sometimes, like after they gap up, they might come back down and try to fill that gap back down, but it's awesome to see it kind of going back on the uptrend. Looks like JD is kind of holding its ground too. Definitely not breaking out necessarily. Baidu's been moving pretty well. This one, I would say, has been one of the better movers out of all of them that we've looked at so far. I know Queb's been doing pretty well. They had that nice pop up at open, but kind of like Baba, they've just been consolidating as of right now. But I will say they're all holding their ground nicely, kind of like they're setting up to keep moving on up maybe later on today.
Here we go. Awesome. Another one that I saw that was running up was actually Netflix. So it's up like 2.5% today, and it's actually having a pretty decent recovery.
Yeah, this one actually looks pretty good. I was eyeing this one up yesterday, actually, right around support, but they started breaking it like right at the end of the day, and then they recovered back. But it looks like a nice bounce right there. And you're right, the recovery is pretty good. And with them having those good earnings with Squid Game and everything like that, I feel like this stock could do pretty good. They have been making new highs, and they pulled back a little bit, kind of like with Tesla, with the SPY, and with a few different stocks yesterday. But I'm really glad to see them recovering back today. And the market's honestly been pretty good today, given everything that we saw yesterday with those bad inflation numbers. We even had some bad news like with Russia and Ukraine, apparently. So, there's definitely been some crazy stuff going on.
Awesome. Alrighty. And then we have Apex saying, what are your thoughts on Pfizer and GPS? So, Pfizer, Tom, I know you were looking at this one yesterday. They were looking pretty good, and we're getting actually really, really close to a breakout. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I actually really like it. I've been eyeing it up a lot. We're actually getting really close to this $49.60 resistance. We actually just bounced off of it earlier. And if we start to break out up above $50, that'll be awesome. Look at Pfizer on the daily chart. I've been eyeing them up since they were down here around $43, but I never really pulled the trigger because all these vaccine stocks like Moderna started going crazy to the downside, but Pfizer ended up popping with those earnings, and ever since those earnings went well for them, they've just been flying back up. It's been a really good recovery actually for them. They had news with like a COVID pill as well. So overall, they've been recovering nicely, and I'll definitely be eyeing up that breakout. I feel like it could definitely happen pretty soon, and the setup looks pretty bullish to me.
Awesome. All right, and then the next one was GPS. So this one has been kind of all over the place. It's like making like a decent recovery right now. I saw like over like the past couple weeks or so, I've been seeing a lot of like retail stocks kind of pop up. Like I believe like one of them was like TJX, and yeah, that one popped up a little bit. Burlington also popped up a little bit. BURL. DKS wasn't bad, like you have pointed out. So yeah, I mean, it looks like GPS is kind of uptrending with the industry. I like it right now. It's not my favorite play in the world, but I do like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I have like the 90-day 4-hour chart pulled up here, and you can see that all these stocks, like a lot of these retails, have been kind of pulling up off of these bottom supports, and it's been pretty good. Let's go check out like the max daily and see how it's been looking. And yeah, they've definitely been pulling back, but I will say their recovery ever since that COVID drop has been actually pretty nice. Even though the gaps has been coming down, I feel like this could be pretty good for a swing play. Actually, it's bouncing on support. It's hard to get these retail stocks, but hopefully their online sales keep up.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Then we have George saying, I guess Netflix is also up because Disney's down. Yeah, that could be another thing to keep in mind for sure. I know Disney's their Disney Plus subscribers came in lower than expectations, which sucked. But yeah, definitely a pretty rough earnings report, and Netflix can also, yeah, could definitely be running up because of that. So definitely good input there, George. Then we have Iranical saying the collar saved me from a big loss on Disney. Thank you for the great advice. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Honestly, I wish I followed you on that one. But either way, yeah, collars are a pretty good strategy to deploy when you have shares because it's kind of like a win-win, and it hedges you and it doesn't cost you anything. So, like, for example, if you have like a huge portfolio of a bunch of different stocks and you want to protect that portfolio, it might cost you a couple grand or maybe even more than that. And the collars, they don't cost you anything, and it offers you that downside protection while at the same time, unfortunately, limiting your upside. But there's give and take to it, but it's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, I'm really glad it helped you out because, man, Disney unfortunately just keeps falling down. They just broke that 160 support, which is not a good sign to me. But, man, with how much they've been falling, I wouldn't be surprised if they started to come back up a little bit. Like you would think they would come back up a little bit eventually. But, man, it's just on the daily. It's not looking good right now for them. And, I'm really glad that collar helped you out. And, like I posted in the chat earlier, these advanced options plays have been pretty good lately. We've been implementing them more and more as we've been coming out with these advanced courses, and it's been honestly going pretty well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do, like especially when you have shares, like you could, sell covered calls, and like obviously that sounds like a simple strategy, but there's actually a lot you can do in terms of where you place that covered call. So, like for example, if you own shares of, let's just say, I don't know, let's say you own shares of Corsair, right? If you own shares of Corsair at $25 each and you're scared that it might fall, of course you could buy puts, you could do a collar, but you could also sell a covered call, but you could sell like in the money covered calls with time where it kind of hedges you and like it just like really protects you in like unique ways. So long story short, there's a lot you could do, especially when you have shares, and the options market is pretty awesome in that sense because you could basically protect yourself in any way you want, and it offers a lot of like versatility.
Yeah, it really does. And that's what really makes options so good to me is like whenever you're getting into these like longer term plays, like, man, you can start to implement some of these strategies that are awesome, like the wheel strategy, and just you don't even have to do it exactly like that. Like you said, there's so many different ways, like different areas you can place them, different, percentages to take profits, different like delta values to look at. Like there's so much different stuff. So it can be crazy. But looking at Corsair, actually, Mike, they're actually on the pretty nice uptrend today. They're bouncing off that $25 support. I'll tell you what, this stock looks like it's poised for a pretty nice comeback right here.
It's about time, right?
Yeah, I
Jeez.
mean, I hope they can start to get some good momentum from here because you're right. I mean, man, they've just been consolidating down here forever, and it reminds me of like almost like a Disney. It's just not really doing anything. Unfortunately, Corsair actually had better earnings than Disney, thank God, but they just haven't been moving too good.
Yeah. Maybe Draftkings next for this pop back up. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Let's check them out today. Oh yeah, unfortunately, they're still going down. That technical break was bad, but hey, they're still above the $40 support, so it looks like that's going to definitely be tested today.
You know it. All right. And then we have Kumar saying thoughts on Twitter. Let's take a look. TWTR. Oh, wow. It got rejected pretty bad over the past couple of days. I saw some smart money got into, I believe it was like the 55 or 56 strike calls, but I think they expire in like a couple of years or something. So, obviously like the movement over a day or two doesn't really matter for like a long-term option like that. So it is selling off. It's not my favorite play in the world, but I think it's pretty decent overall.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the technicals on it have been looking pretty bad, ever since we hit the blue trend line. And then we recently broke below that huge support around like $57 to $60, and it just hasn't been looking good. We're coming up on a big support though, right around like $50 even, which might be pretty good for them. So, as you start to look at it, sometimes these stocks, like as we see Twitter here, they kind of had a big slide off to the downside. Sometimes whenever you see them and they're starting to slide off again, sometimes they have a big second leg. And, I would not be surprised if Twitter had another big sell-off. I'm not saying it's going to be huge, maybe down to $50 if they break that, maybe down to like 46, 47. But either way, there's a big big support coming up around 50 that we can look for. And I feel like getting shares of them for the longer term is going to be pretty good anyways. The options might be, a little volatile right now, but I feel like that if you just wait a while and you wait for maybe a good bottom to form and then for them to start to recover, it could be a good swing play though.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Then with the next comment, we have Rick saying, "What about Blink? BLNK?" He said Biden signing bill Monday. Yeah, it could be pretty good. I think they have earnings pretty soon. It looks like, but yeah, that's actually definitely a potential play.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. They actually have earnings today after close. So it's going to be really interesting with them. A lot of stocks are going up on earnings. Lots of stocks are going down. Some are just, staying the same. So we'll have to see what happens with Blink. It's just a coin flip. Honestly, I would lean more to the upside given the sector that they're in and given how we've seen some other stocks like Plug, like we can see with Plug, they moved down and then the very next day they recovered. And then today they're trying to pop back up. So hopefully, we start to see good movement as these earnings come up. But man, it's going to be really tough. Like obviously with BLNK, there's lots of different scenarios with the bill coming out. Obviously their earnings are going to be big. Obviously like EV, the whole sector has been crazy lately in general. So I don't know. It's going to be really tough, but with the earnings, I would lean to the upside, but I'm definitely not going to be, buying any options in anticipation of it. But if I had shares, I don't think I would get scared by any means and sell out right here before earnings. I would definitely hold my shares through here.
Hunter goes, insightful Tommy Tenders. Some up, some down, some the same.
Yeah, I know, dude. It sounded funny as I even said it.
But all right, there we go. Then we have Power asking about GM. So let's take a look. GM today is looking pretty good. It's uptrending. It has resistance around 64 or so, but it's actually looking pretty good.
Yeah, it really is. I can't stop laughing now, to be honest. But
Yeah.
man, yeah, they're starting to break out pretty well. I've been eyeing them up as Ford's been rising, and man, it's been a really nice breakout here of $60 today. I'll tell you, their daily chart's looking nice, and I would not be surprised to see them at all-time highs pretty soon. Ford has been running up pretty drastically, and GM's been lagging behind ever so slightly. So hopefully they start to move.
All right, so we wanted some levels. Let's take a look. GM looks like I would say like the major resistance is right around 64 and like maybe like $64.30. I'm gonna look on the hourly or like the hourly really quickly. Yeah, mainly 64 will be the one to watch out for. There's also some chop right around 62. So watch 64 and 62 for resistance. For support, I would watch 60. That's like the main level to watch out for. If it did break below 60, there's a little bit more support at like $59.50.
Yeah, I agree with that one. The 60 is going to be huge. As we go back to those 4-hour charts, though, for sure, though, there's some big areas coming up, like you said, Mike, like right around like 62 to 62.50. So definitely be careful of that as we start to rise. But hopefully we can break out above that and start to get back to those highs. That would be an amazing thing for General Motors. And, we've seen Ford do it lately. So hopefully GM can start to get up there. And they've even had some good news with that new Corvette coming out. I know that 2023 Corvette's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, so we have Max saying, think Lucid is ready to run. Let's take a look. I mean, it's up 8% today. It's just hard to judge it with earnings so soon. Earnings are a coin flip, and we've had a wild earnings season so far, so it's like, I really, really like the trend it's on, but with earnings, literally anything can happen.
Yeah, and like I think playing it for like today or tomorrow could be good, but I would definitely not hold it over the weekend heading into those earnings on Monday. It would definitely be a very tough play. Either way though, I think shares might be decent if you want to start to average in here. I don't think I would go all in though by any means, but I'm with you though on the intraday. It looks pretty good. I will say the technicals are lining up very nice. You're bouncing off the support around $42. We're kind of holding this 1,000 SMA, which is awesome. You're breaking out above the 100 SMA, which is great. If we can start to break out right here above this 44 to maybe like 44.50 resistance, I think that would make for an awesome intraday move. And like I said, the way it's bouncing today, I would really hope it keeps going up, especially like as we get towards like maybe like lunchtime today. I'd really love to see this stock start to be up towards like $46 or so, just the way the technicals are moving. But, obviously it's going to be really volatile today, especially with like Tesla and a lot of those other stocks. I feel like if Tesla keeps tanking off, it might unfortunately bring like Lucid and a few of these other ones down with it.
Here we go. So Looks like Palantir is actually green today. Believe it or not, DraftKings is just in the green. I don't know if hell froze over, Tom, or what, but I like to see it.
Yeah, it might have. I mean, look at Palantir trying to get up. If it breaks these pre-market highs at like 23.20, man, I mean, who knows? The devil might be chewing on ice here.
Yes.
This is crazy. Hopefully we start to get up though, man. It's been rough, like you said, the earnings weren't bad. The only negative aspect I saw to the earnings were that their growth slowed down ever so slightly, but it wasn't even that terrible. So in the end, they still had good revenue numbers, and in the EPS wasn't the best, but I really like that company overall. They have good contracts with the government, and I feel like that honestly, with it being down here at like $23, it's awesome for shares right now. Like if you wanted to add it to the long-term portfolio, I think it's an awesome pickup.
Yeah. I'm with you, Tom. Let's see this. Let's see this upwards trend continue with DraftKings and Palantir. They've both been brutal lately. Both have a ton of growth potential, and I guess it's just a part of being a long-term investor into these companies. Like, how about that video the other day with Charlie Munger? He's like, if you can't withstand a 50% downturn, you deserve the mediocre returns you're gonna get. So I guess that's a little motivating.
Yeah, that is actually pretty motivating. And hang on, I'm actually going to see if I can get that video up here really quick. That
Yeah,
would actually be we probably can't even hear it, but in the end,
yeah,
it's a pretty cool thing to see. I love seeing that stuff like with Munger, with Warren Buffett. They have some awesome quotes about stocks going down and being able to hold them through. And being in the market, you have to develop some thick skin. Like if you sell out the first sign of any loss, of course that's going to end up pretty bad for you in the longer term. And, like guys like Warren Buffett, I know like Buffett's been into, here's one example. Warren Buffett's actually into Kraft Heinz right now, and he's been in for a few years, and he bought in up here at the top, and he's taking a pretty hard loss right now. And it's not like he just owns a little bit of this. I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. So he's definitely taking a big loss, but he's definitely betting on it to recover back. So hopefully we start to see it recover back. And like he said, if you sell off, at the first sign that your stock goes down 50 or 25% or whatever it is, you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot. But hopefully he trusts it and it comes back up over the next few years, and that's the main thing, and he does it himself. He's definitely holding this one, and we've seen him hold a few of these a few stocks for a long time, even through some bad losses. I can't remember the big one, Mike, but I can't remember if he held Apple or not whenever it went to $1 a long time ago, but I think I remember him talking about it at least.
well, he doubled down on what was it? Charlie Munger doubled down on Alibaba lately because that's been getting smacked. I don't know where like his average cost is at or like where his cost basis is, but either way, I mean, this got smacked, and he's buying that dip.
Yeah, definitely. And you just can't I would definitely take these guys' advice. Like sometimes just buying and holding these shares for the long term is awesome. And, you just have to be prepared sometimes for the downtrend. And, like for a lot of people right now, like I'm sure a lot of even our viewers right now, or even just retail traders in general, I'm sure a lot of them are looking at stocks like Nvidia, AMD, and they're probably buying in right now saying like, man, these stocks are on fire, like, are they ever going to stop? And, as they start to pull back, if AMD starts to fall back down to like this 120 support, just don't be too worried about it. Like just let it go for the longer term. As long as you have shares and you're comfortable holding it, I feel like it's it's really good to just hold these stocks for the longer term. Of course, there's always going to be these short-term pullbacks, but I've even noticed it over the past 5 years with my own like longer-term portfolios. Like sometimes if you just let them go, you might be down 50% right now, but in the next year, that stock might double or triple, like we see with AMD. Like if you would have bought in at $91 and then said, oh man, it's fallen, and you sold out at 74, it rockets up to 155 just a couple months later. So sometimes it just takes one good piece of news or one good earnings report, and those stocks can turn right back around.
You know it. Alrighty, so with the last comment, we have I'm Fierce saying thoughts on T for the long term. I heard they are stopping dividends, but seems to still be paying them. They at a good level, question mark. So I think they're at a pretty great level. In terms of the dividends, the last I heard about them, they were cutting their dividend. I didn't think they were totally stopping it, but they could have updated that. Let me just double check that. AT&T Dividend. Let's see. Yeah, because I could have swore that they're just cutting or limiting their dividend. Yeah, upcoming dividend cut. So yeah, keep that in mind. I know it is a pretty big cut, which kind of sucks, but I think they're fine for the long term. I don't think they're going to explode or like change the world or anything like that. But I think they're like a relatively safe long term hold.
Yeah, and don't forget, Ford. Let's go back and look at Ford. Ford was actually they were paying dividends for years and years and years, and you get up to COVID here. Ford had some bad problems. They had to end up cutting that dividend. You can see Ford ended up tanking down right as COVID started to come out, and it was just a pretty bad scenario. And they cut that dividend, and they started helping their business with that money instead of paying out the dividend. And look at how their stocks performed actually. I know that they've had help with the EV sector and everything like that, but cutting the dividend isn't always bad. Sometimes it gives the company more. Yeah, it gives them some better fundamentals, I should say, in the shorter term. So just look at it that way, that it might help them at least give them more cash in the short term. And they could always bring it back. I know Ford even announced that they're going to bring their dividend back. So they might get rid of it for a few years, but hopefully they bring it back. And I feel like for the longer term, T's at a pretty good time to grab shares, but it's going to be a very crazy road. We just fell below that big support, and hopefully, like with the dividend cut, that they don't get some more bad movement.
All right, there we go. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. We had a great time. Market's going crazy, and we're set for a pretty volatile end of the week. So again, thank you guys so much for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day.